Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. Thanks for watching the Hot Zone. I've always been a big advocate of the US military. Obviously, I served 8 years in the military and it was a very good experience for me. And I still think that we have an incredibly powerful military, one that could do great things around the world if it was ordered to do so. And whenever the shackles are taken off our military, they tend to absolutely dominate on the battlefield. However, I don't think the U.S. military is above reproach. I don't think it's above criticism, and so I've been kind of depressed over the last year or so as I've seen the military just be used as a political pawn, and not just over the last year, really since the Obama administration. And back in the Obama administration, the U.S. military started to change very rapidly. It was traditionally a place that was sort of a bastion of conservatism. It was a sort of apolitical and didn't participate in all the political shenanigans that went on in our country. But under the Obama administration, he worked very hard to change the military into something that it shouldn't be, which is a social experiment more than a lethal fighting force. And that had very deleterious effects on the US military and on our country. And so today, the military spends an inordinate amount of time training for woke causes, training for sensitivity, trying to we're telling our commanders that they have to try to defeat our enemies and adversaries without actually offending them, and that's pretty difficult. But not only that, as we watch the pullout around in Afghanistan, and we're actually withdrawing all around the world, our power wanes as a nation to affect the conversation. And what that does to the U.S. military is it really just tanks morale. So what we're seeing is a huge spike in suicides, even as combat operations have gone down. Very often we have tried to equate the high suicide rate in the military with post-traumatic stress from combat. I've shown in many of my podcasts that that's not the case, that a very, very small number of US military personnel actually ever experience real combat. And of those, the suicide rate is not that much higher than the society at large. But the spike in suicides in the US military, I think, comes down to several things. And first of all, that the morale is low. We're not giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, and Marines important, meaningful, world-changing, world-shaping jobs to do by and large anymore. We are, like I say, subjecting them to tons of very divisive political stuff. They're shutting down operations in order to do more sensitivity training, in order to root out what they see as conservatism or white supremacy. See, they equate those two things. If you're a conservative in the U.S. military, then you must be a white supremacist by the government's definition today. And there's a lot of people who didn't sign up for that. There's a lot of people who just didn't sign up for that. So I say all that to say this: it was really encouraging to go and spend some time with the 212th Rescue Squadron up in Alaska. While I was up there a couple weeks ago, I got a chance to go and talk with some of the guys from the Pararescuemen. These are highly professional guys, a couple years in the training pipeline, and then they train for the rest of their career, and they have a heck of a lot of fun doing it, I'll tell you what. And they're doing a lot of really good things right now. And I think that one of the reasons why the morale is so high in the 212th Rescue Squadron is, number one, they've got a really good commander. They've got a commander who understands the guys and what they need and what they're there for, and lets them do their job. And number two, they're doing important real world work saving lives in Alaska. And so I wanted to show you this piece that I made about the 212th Rescue Squadron. Check this out. For the past 2 decades, this small Air Force pararescue unit in Alaska has spent years serving in war zones around the globe, and it gives them a special perspective on the recent pullout from Afghanistan.
Afghans weren't handing babies off to Russians when the Russians left, you know what I mean? So it could have been that bad if people are literally killing themselves to go wherever the Americans are going, you know? And that told me, when I saw that heartbreaking footage, when we see these things kind of maybe falling apart, I took a little bit different view. It kind of made me feel good to know, like, hey, we must have done something right, because the Afghan people obviously want what we have.
And the lessons these specially trained rescuers learned overseas are getting put to good use.
Places like Horn of Africa, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, what was Afghanistan, you know, we're also part of our responsibilities. Between real-world evacuations with our C-17s, hurricane support, search and rescue missions here in Alaska, nobody really tops us in the experiences that we get. Not to mention the, you know, things like the NASA manned spaceflight support, the rescues around the country, the domestic operations, and then of course our normal, you know, just rotations overseas.
This warehouse full of toys is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And all of this equipment belongs to the 212 Rescue Squadron. They use it not only in combat, but in the real world missions that they're doing on a weekly, if not daily basis here in the state of Alaska, serving the people of this state and using the skills that they've learned in combat to make a difference right here at home.
As an example, in the last 48 hours, we have conducted one mission, a medical emergency for an abdominal patient. We did respond to a bear attack, both the C-130 and the 60, with 4 PJs total. And then this morning we had confined space training going on, as well as military free fall and tandem training from the C-130. So that's just 48 hours in Alaska.
These challenging missions require training in almost every extreme sport imaginable, so sometimes it's hard to believe they get paid to have this much fun.
We're a very tight-knit community up here, so it's kind of hard not to have fun, even when things are a little bit miserable, which Alaska can throw some miserable conditions at you. People seem to still have a smile on their face.
And their record speaks for itself. The men and women of the 212th Rescue Squadron find it encouraging to see all that experience being used to help their fellow Americans.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to say that we have fun, because as soon as somebody finds out you actually enjoy your job, they find ways to ruin it. But yeah, right now this is probably the best job on the planet.
From Anchorage, Alaska, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
sit up with 20 people in the cabin. Bring them up to the cabin door.
100 feet. 100 feet.
This floor of the cabin. Bring them up and inside the cabin.
Since July of '94, over 2,000 lives saved in the state of Alaska from this office. That's all different agencies that we've used. State troopers, United States Coast Guard, National Park Service. We'll use the Alaska Mountain Rescue Group. Civil Air Patrol is a huge asset that we rely on. People know that when they're going out recreating, and if they get lost or in distress, they can count on us to come and look for them.
They had to fly into the clouds, and then they inched their way along the mountain. And I mean inched.
You could not see the undercarriage of the helicopter itself. It was that thick.
And then the pararescue jumpers burst out of this fog and sunlight. He leans up to the plane and looks at me and says, "Hi, I'm here to help." I believe it's 2 miracles, no question.
Thank you would of course be the first thing that would come out of my mouth, but I feel like I owe it to them to keep in contact a little bit, just to let them know that I'm recovered and I'm taking ownership of my recovery, and I'm making sure that I get back to that 100% functional state.
Since July of '94, the guardsmen here have been on console 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, providing this service for the citizens of the state of Alaska, and also for the military members that are on duty 24 hours a day. It's an extremely rewarding mission. It's been a long history, but the last 18 years here with Guard.
As seamless as it is, and like I said, we train all the time for this stuff, and we're a bit inoculated to it, but you know, at night we do sit and think about the gravity and intensity of the things that we are asked to do, but it's always in hindsight. I do it just because I think it's a very virtuous job, you know, to be able to do things that I've trained my whole life at. I mean, I've been in the military 20 years, you know, and to use those things for virtuous activity to save other human beings, I think it gives back to you quite a bit. You know.
Helicopter crews to maintenance to forward surgical teams at the hospitals to, I mean, everybody. I mean, it is a completely total team concept. It takes everybody to get the job done and the mission accomplished. And it's just, you know, it's not about one individual. It's about everybody.
It means the world to me in order to that they were on call, that there was someone for my dad to call in the wee hours of the morning to help get out here and get me off the mountain. A life that was saved, but also because I was saved, I have 2 beautiful girls now, and I have a lovely wife, and you know, the spider effect as it goes out, and all the lives that are affected, in addition to the one life that may have been saved.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. There still are a lot of really good men and women in our U.S. military today. The problem is not with the troops. The problem is with the leadership by and large. And that goes all the way to the very top, the commander-in-chief. When you have a feckless, weak commander-in-chief, morale is not going to be very high in the U.S. military. That's all there is to it. So pray for our U.S. military, pray for our troops, and we'll see you again next time.